chapter 3. So again, we kind of just obviously saw it from my conversation with you guys doing this character class. So you have this girl Gypsy whose aunt disappears in the first chapter, and we find out that this kid Woodrow was living with the mother and the father. The father can't deal with the situation. He gets upset, starts drinking. So this kid Woodrow is now living with his grandparents. The grandparents live next to their daughter. Their daughter is Gypsy, who's the narrator. So this girl Gypsy goes over to her grandparents' house to visit this kid who's moving into the house. And she's basically questioning him about what's going on with his mother, if he knows anything. And he basically tells Gypsy that he has a secret. And the secret that he tells her is that his mother used to read this poem, and the poem talks about the fact that this um, person says, "No, don't go back inside." And this kid thinks that this poem was a hint about what the mother, the mother's disappearance. He doesn't really know too much, but he just says like, "Look, there's a clue that my mother was going." So that's his interpretation. So we don't really know for sure what the poem means. That's how he's interpreting it, right? And again, too, in terms of the Belle's disappearance, there's no clues. Right? There was no footprints, nothing taken. Her shoes are missing. There's nothing there that tells us what actually happened to this lady. All right, so now we're going to continue. Again, we're just going to do chapter 3. If for whatever reason you get lost or cut off, this video is going to be whatever. I ran to the front door to meet them. They were both loaded down with pokes that were crammed full, and Woodrow was so tickled he couldn't stop grinning. I knew Grandpa must have bought him lots of stuff. Dog came bounding in behind Woodrow, barking with excitement. You gotta see, Gypsy, Woodrow gathered. You gotta see what Grandpa bought me. I'd never had such new stuff all one time. I helped Woodrow on Granny's wine-colored horse couch. Look at the comic books, he gushed. Red Rider and Luther and Sluggo and Luca and Slime. I said nothing. What about clothes? Didn't you get out to go buy clothes? Yeah, Woodrow said. Them too. Breeches and shirts and socks and belts and underwear and 2 pairs of shoes. Shorts for summertime. And what else, Grandpa? Eh? Grandpa said as he dumped the sacks beside Woodrow's. He hadn't heard a word. This is alliteration. There's a lot of alliteration in this story. Woodrow went plowing through the pile of new things. Here it is, Gypsy slime. Proudly he produced a comic book with a picture of a big fat maggot on the front cover. What's a maggot? I don't know if you guys realize what maggots are. I didn't know what maggots were until I was like your age. Do you know what a maggot is? What is it? It's a type of bug, yeah, but what kind of, actually, I don't even know if you realize what a maggot actually is. It's a bug. What kind of bug is it? Yeah, but what is it?
And it feeds off food and molded stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or right?
Yeah, so you see maggots usually on dead things, but I don't know if you realize what a maggot actually is. What is a maggot? What do they look like? Yeah, yeah, they look like worms. So Ariane's bread they look like white worms, but you know what actually maggots are? Those are baby flies. So maggots, yeah. So maggots are basically, so you see flies are always landing on dead things. They lay their eggs on them, and then they turn into those worms, and then eventually those worms grow into flies. Yeah, I didn't know that myself either until I was.
But they can't fly.
Well, I guess they metamorphose, kind of like, I guess, like, you guys know about I'm sure caterpillar butterflies. So you guys probably have seen that. So it's probably something similar must occur with them. And obviously, maggots are disgusting and freaking staring.
So, well, we were
You gotta lower your volume, Amy. Your volume is insane. Amy, you're screaming into the mic. Stop screaming. You gotta lower your volume. Or
so we
you're
were
still loud.
gone.
You're still loud. Lower your volume. Or back away from the mic. Oh, my God, super loud right now. All right, you can talk now. Go ahead.
So when I was going to the so we didn't notice that the
Yeah, so obviously some of those maggots could like transform into fly forming. Yeah, I think that's part, it must be part of the curriculum I guess for this third grade. We had caterpillars and flash to turn into a butterfly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think yeah we did it in third grade. I think when I was a kid. All right, let's continue. So now you know what mag. Let's go. More this process. Not only they can decide what color there are, just certain caterpillars are always going to be the same type of colors. All right, let's continue. We sprawled on one of those round braided rugs Granny Oates, excuse me, kept up slick, shiny hardwood floors. Put our heads together and read slime out loud to each other, hooting and hollering at the most disgusting story. Granny called from the kitchen. All right, now, you youngins, come on in here and eat these tater cakes I made you. All four of us were in high spirits as we ate lunch. We acted the fool and yelled at each other over the table so the people all up and down Resident Street could probably hear every word. All the windows and doors were wide open. Granny did make the best tater cakes, and Woodrow and I ate three apiece. So again, you kind of see something about just the culture back then is that like people weren't afraid of like strangers, so they didn't really lock their doors. Anything like everything is wide open. Earlier on in the first chapter, you hear like the keys to the truck were left in the truck overnight. Like, things that people generally don't do nowadays. Now Woodrow, yeah, exactly that type of thing. Now Woodrow, Granny said when we're done eating, I want you to pull all your new things away in your room. Then I want you to trot down Main Street and get a haircut. Gypsy, can you show where the barber shop is? Woodrow put his head down into his head and he felt his hair. You want me to get my hair cut in a haircutting store? He said. This was a real knee slapper, but Woodrow didn't seem to mind or laughing. So they're laughing at him. What does he obviously never do? Why are they laughing at Woodrow here? What is it so funny to them? What did Woodrow never do? Yeah, he never got a haircut, right? He went right along with us. In fact, I think he was putting us on. You've never been to a barber shop before, Woodrow? I said. No. When my hair gets down to my eyes, Daddy would set a bowl on top of my head, and whatever was hanging past the rim of the bowl, he'd knock it off. That sent us into hysterics again, so they're all like laughing like crazy. Granny had to take off her glasses and wipe them on her apron, so they're all like laughing at this again. Woodrow changed into a pair of his new pants and a shirt, and he put the rest away. Grandpa gave him 50 cents, and we headed to Main Street. It was a perfect day. The hills around us were green and full, and they seemed to hold on to our little town and cut away from the rest of the world. It's actually kind of funny just to look at in terms of the cost of things. So, how much was the haircut? 50 cents. You know how much it costs to cut a hair at my brother's barber now without tip? No, his barber over here is charging $30 for one haircut. Yeah, plus you gotta tip him. So exactly. So it went from 50 cents to 35. This is 1953. They say. Yeah, this is 1950s. All right. So the hills around us were green and full, and they seemed to hold our little town away from the rest of the. All the yards on Resident Street were as neat as a freshly made bed, and there was the smell of lilies and fruit trees blooming everywhere. Notice there's a metaphor here for comparing their house to a made bed. We walked past 9 houses going towards Main Street. Then there was the post office, the courthouse, Presbyterian church before we reached the businesses. We need your head in our business, read the sign over acres. I had not been there since I was a real little girl, and my daddy used to take me with him when he went to get his hair cut. There were four men sitting around talking, watching Clint Akers cut big stuff in his hair. I knew they were excuse me, hillbillies, and the two of them mined coal for a living. It seemed there was a lot of chattering and guffawing, but when we walked in, they got quiet and looked at us. So, obviously, I don't know if you've ever been into barbershops, but I'm sure most boys have been, right? But girls don't really go to barbershops. That's what I was about to say. So there's a bit of a culture when it comes to barbershops that sometimes there's almost like a raunchiness to it that men talk about that are not necessarily appropriate to be talking about at all times. And they're always laughing and stuff like that, talking about things that they find interesting. It's kind of like,
I don't know why, but when I go to a barber shop, that napkin they put on your head chokes me.
oh, you got to tell them to like, loosen it a little bit. But it's a place where there's like lots of gossip. Like people just there's literally people who used to they don't do it now because we're dealing with this pandemic. They literally just used to go to the barbershop to hang out, which is kind of a crazy thing. Like I'm gonna hang out at the barbershop. Um, Beauty shops where women go, I'm sure it's a little bit similar, but I don't think it's at the same level. So that's why these guys are all like laughing and joking, and then these two little kids walk in and everybody gets quiet because they have to stop acting a fool. Maybe they were telling dirty jokes or something. I heard a boy at school one day say that that's where he heard all of his jokes at the barbershop. He knew a lot, but they could just hush up for a while. They knew better than to tell a dirty joke in front of his stepdaughter. That was a cross I had to bear wherever I went. So I guess this guy Porter, her stepfather, is like really well respected in town. So they know that people in front of him. Woodrow and I perched together on each side of the cane bottom chair. How you doing? Clint said to us. We said fine. Clint, this is my relation, I said, and he needs a haircut. He's got 50 cents. How you doing, young feller? Clint said to Woodrow. Woodrow said fine again. Gypsy, Clint went on, is this boy from your daddy's side of the family? No, Mama's, I said. How's that? Clint said as he stepped his scissors in the air and gave undivided attention. What? Clint, I said, knowing perfectly well what he was driving at. Which one of your mama's people is he? Woodrow and I looked at the waiting faces. What the heck, I thought? They were bound to find out. Might as well get it over with. So, this here is Belle Praters' boy, I said. Is that a fact? Clint said, his eyes as big as silver dollars. Belle Praters' boys, huh? What's your name, boy? So, obviously, why would all these barbers be so interested in that? Why would they? Not about Gypsy. It has nothing to do with Gypsy. Why are they so interested in that? Why do they care? Exactly right. So this is the kid's mom, and his mom disappeared. So this is like kind of like interesting. Like, what's up with this kid and why is where's the mom essentially? Yeah. Woodrow, huh? Yeah, that's right. I recall reading that in the Mountain Echo. Her boy Woodrow it said was asleep when she disappeared. Is that you? Woodrow didn't answer, and I didn't blame him. It was a darn fool question. Nobody else said anything. They just crossed their arms and legs, leaned back and stared. Hiram Sparks aimed a big splat of tobacco juice into a tin can, then continued staring at the others. Finally, Esau Ward said, "You heard anything from your mama, boy?" Now, Esau, I said, more than a little aggravated. You now doggone good and well. If there was any news about Aunt Belle, it'd be all over the county. You wouldn't have to ask. That's the truth, Clint said, laughing. He went back to his haircut. Atmosphere in the room lightened up some. After a while, a hushed conversation started again. Okay, Woodrow, your turn, Clint said as he took the 50-cent from Jake. But they were here first, Woodrow said politely. Oh, then, Clint said, laughing again. They don't want no haircuts. They're just chewing the fat. Again, I'm kind of showing you that there's literally people at the barbershop who aren't there for a haircut. Woodrow took his place in the barber chair. Folks could always come to my place to socialize, Clint went on, like he was bragging. I remember Gypsy's daddy, Amos Lee Master, used to drop by just to talk sometimes, and he'd bring Gypsy with him. You remember that, Gypsy? I nodded. I reckon Amos took Gypsy with him near about every place he went, didn't he, Gypsy? I nodded again. You never saw one without the other, Clint went on, determined to wear the subject down. I never saw a man who loved his young'un more. He was the finest, handsomest man I've ever seen. It was a pity what happened to him. Don't cut too much, Woodrow interrupted Clint suddenly, for which I was grateful. Well, I ain't even started yet, Clint said. Don't worry, boy, you'll get your money's worth and no more. That's what I tell people. You get your money's worth, not a lick more. Raymond Muncie came in, took a chair by Esau and Clarence. Howdy, Raymond, Esau said. Then he leaned over and whispered something. They both looked at Woodrow. Belle Prater boy, no fooling cross-eyed, ain't he? Raymond said. Was Belle cross-eyed? Clarence asked. Oh, no, Raymond said. I went to school with Belle, and she wasn't no beauty like love, but she wasn't cross-eyed either. I had had enough about this, so Gypsy's getting pissed off that these guys are doing nothing but talking about, you know, and what's going on with her. Hey, Raymond, I said as loud and as nasal as I could imagine, the way I had heard some of the holler women talk. How's your girl Flo? I heard she fell off the running board and caught her foot under the wheel. You heard right, Gypsy, Raymond said. But she's mending. She'll be back in school on Monday. Glad to hear it, Raymond. Flo's as good as a girl as you'll find. Right smart, too. Is that so? Raymond said, and seemed to puff off. Well, sometimes I think she's the smartest one of my seven, even if she is a girl. I thought I was the only room in the room who detected a disguised insult to the whole female gender, but no, there was Woodrow peeping around the side of his glasses at me. He never missed a thing, and it occurred to me that Woodrow would never say anything like that. He did not think of me as just a girl any more than I thought of him as just a cross-eyed boy. So something that you're noticing at the very end of the story is just culturally the sexism that existed. So she's mentioning a girl, probably from her class, to this guy who's there, and she says, "Oh, she's very smart because he probably goes to school with her." And then the father's response is, "Well, yeah, she might be smarter than the boys, but she's still a girl, kind of." And so again, this kind of just talks to like, the sexism that existed at the time, that they didn't men were embarrassed that the woman was better in any way than them. All right, so I'm gonna give you some questions on Socrative.